What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back. Episode 228 of FLA Exposure Podcast. I always think about this every time I do a new podcast. We started this during the pandemic, and here we are 228 episodes later and still kicking. So very happy to be joined today by one of the athletes who's going to be the co-main event in our upcoming Fight League Atlantic 16 here in Pictou, Nova Scotia at the Hector Arena. Super excited to have this guy on the card. He's been a guy that's been we were just talking about it off screen. He's been actively trying to fight and actively trying to fight out here and compete. And he stayed on me. And he's just a guy who's willing to compete and willing to put himself out there, looking for the exposure and looking for the opportunity. So very happy to be joined by the pride, if I say, will clinch for life in Matrix Boxing, Abbotsford, a guy who calls Vancouver home, Mr. Daniel Abdenour.
All right, boss. Me again.
Of course, man. I don't know if I butchered that intro or not, but I gave it my best shot.
No, that was good. That was good enough.
Awesome, man. Thanks again for taking the time to join us and again, competing, fighting for us, and putting your body, heart, and soul on the line for Fight League Atlantic, man. So how have you been? How's things going?
Everything's good. Just like training hard as usual, getting prepared for this matchup. Like it's a really good fight for the fans. I know that for sure. And just making sure I'm well prepared for everything.
Awesome. The whole idea of this podcast, it's called Fight League Atlantic Exposure. So to kind of expose our fans and I guess the world to how, who our athletes are or the people who are competing for us are. So if you don't mind, like letting people know, like, how'd you get involved in martial arts and like when, where, who, all that kind of stuff, if you don't mind.
Well, it all started, I would say, back, in elementary school. Your parents kind of put you in that recreational karate stuff, like that goes on in your, the off hours of school. They put me in that, and I kind of went to that a couple times a week, just for fun. And then I remember I moved back home, back to the Middle East. I lived in Abu Dhabi for a bit.
Okay.
And once I went there, I remember them putting me in a karate school again, but this time it was super hardcore. Like I wasn't exposed to that kind of, over here it was a little bit more nice and calm. Over there we were about, I don't know, grade 5 and 6, and we were sparring 100% with like those little like weight gloves on, like weightlifting gloves. And I kind of did that for a bit and took some damage doing that. And then once I moved back to Canada, I did a little bit of kickboxing, again, more recreational, and I stopped for a bit. And I would say I really started focusing on like fighting and training harder around 2016 when I graduated high school. I joined Clinch. Clinch MMA was about 10 minutes away from my house, and I joined there. I trained with Sal Ram, and I was going every day. And then he came up to me, I think 2 years in, he's like, "Hey, do you want to fight?" I was like, "Sure." And then I didn't know when it was going to be. And then he came to me at the night session. He's like, "Yeah, like, what's your weight?" And then obviously when you're told your weight, when you're telling your weight, you're going to kind of you're not going to say the exact weight right away. So I just gave him a weight, and he's like, "All right, we're going to fight here in 4 weeks. Make sure you're ready." I'm like, "Okay." So I guess this is the start of something that I probably won't be able to stop.
You got the addiction right away.
Yeah. And then after that, so I still train with Sal at Clinch, and I also train at Matrix Boxing with Gagan Gill and Nick and the guys over there. And I've been training with them since they opened. So it's been consistent training ever since 2016, I would say.
Amazing. That's awesome. So obviously you mentioned Gagan. He's a big part of your team out there. Vancouver, like, Jay, I work with Jay quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but we work together and have a great relationship. And they're going on 81 events, and it's a big scene out there in Vancouver. And what do you think about the community out there?
I think it's awesome. Like you said, Jay's been doing good shows out here, and like I can tell MMA's become like a bigger, even since when like I started. There's people that obviously started way before me, but even since my first fight, I think, which was 2018, like we can see these cards are now filled with like newer names, and obviously the BC household names, but like more people are competing, more people are fighting, which means it's just as the sport gets bigger around Canada, it's just better for all of us. You know what I mean?
Big time. Yeah, that's a great point because that's so important. Like we're out here, we're very blessed because we can do pro am shows. So we can really develop talent from the ground up, right from amateurs. The amateur athletes have the ability to go amateur right to pro and wherever from there. So
Mhm.
that's a huge thing, I think, for athletes to have, and like to have that community where you can continue to grow and you see people who have been there for a while, that you can look up to them and be like, I want to be with that, be like them, and just kind of,
Mm.
I love that, and hopefully, we're on the right path here on the East Coast, and I think we're just gonna keep getting bigger and better. So I love it. Hopefully, you enjoy your time.
A lot too, and like I know I've seen a couple of BC guys go and compete over there, and it looks like a really good show as well. So I'm happy to fight on that too.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we have a great team out here. That's we've been all working together for a long time, and first and foremost, we got a great team that behind the scenes that does awesome work. So, and we're tight, and we're like a weird little family that we just love martial arts. Everybody trains for the most part who works on the events, and it's just awesome, to be able to be a fan and do this. It's incredible. So to have a small part, of whatever athletes want to do, whether it's go to the UFC or it's quite awesome. So how's training camp been? I noticed you were down in Vegas. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. I went down to Vegas. I would say from the 23rd until the 30th, so about a week, and it was nice. It was a nice experience. Especially I get to train, like, you get different looks and stuff, and you get to learn from other people, and it was a great experience. I really liked going down there for that week, and I hope I could go back down there for a little bit longer next time. It was
Awesome.
more so of a spontaneous training camp. We just kind of thought of it like 2 weeks before, and then I was like, you know what, like, I'll make the most out of this week
For
that I'm there.
sure.
I trained a lot down there.
Yeah, well, that's like when you have those kind of resources that, if you're going down there, like you said, you got to make the most of it. And is that the first time for you going, or?
Yeah, that's the first time I went to Vegas to train. The last time I ever went to, like, the last big training camp I went to was I went down to MMA Masters in Florida. I went there last, like, I think it was April or May of 2023. So I went down there for just over a month. So I got to train out there, but it was just a little bit far for me. I couldn't just get up and go and travel like 8 hours, 9 hours, just,
Yeah.
without planning anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Vegas is so much closer for you guys
Also,
out there
yeah,
for sure. Like, what's a flight? Out like 2 hours?
2 hours and, like, yeah, 2 hours and 5 minutes or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
Well, that's good, man. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that everything's going well, and
yeah,
I've never been to Vegas, so it's hopefully we'll be there before the end of the year.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Again, like I was talking about, looking for fights. Like you not only, I will say, man, and I like to like make sure that people understand this because, like, as you know, like I deal with a lot of athletes, and behind the scenes is a mofo
Mhm.
sometimes for not
Yeah,
only me but for the athletes. It's really hard. It's a hard process to make it to the cage. It
yeah,
really is. Like, and I have to say, man, that you're really professional, and up to this point, you're really awesome to deal with and very patient. Much like your opponent, Abdel is a sweetheart too, and it makes everybody's life much better
yeah,
when you're like that. And so, going back to you're out there looking for fights actively, like, hey, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight. Like, those things just make you stand out, man. So I have to commend you on that because it's not everybody's like that. So
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, so it's definitely not a it's not a it's kind of a rarity, to be honest, man. So
Yeah.
what's your expectations? Have you ever been to the East Coast before?
No, never. I honestly, the only other part of Canada that I've ever been to was, I would say, Alberta. I've never been Vancouver and Alberta. I've never been, like, anywhere on that side. So it'll be a nice experience as well.
Nice, awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's it. You get to see a little bit of the country too.
Yeah.
Um, so what's the expectation like for coming east? Obviously, Abdel is a guy who's fought for us quite a bit, and he's a big part of our promotion. What's your expectation from taking this fight?
Honestly, like, I took this fight, like, because obviously you offered me a name, and then I said okay, but I took this fight because I look at Abdel, and he's and I'm gonna say he's the best guy that you have in that weight class. And like me going against a guy like that with all first or second round finishes that he has. I think his only loss was in his amateur career, which was his first fight. But in his pro career, he's just kind of running through these guys. Me going there, and I know that he won't run through me. So I know that I'll be able to test my skills against him. And God willing, I win this fight. I feel like it puts me in a good position for myself early on in my pro career, and it's also a fight that you have to take seriously. Like, this guy gets on your back. It's not like a fun time. Obviously, you could see he's rear naked choking everybody. He has slick jiu-jitsu, but I feel like taking this fight made me have to prepare properly. Like, I couldn't just cut corners or skip sessions. It was always in the back of my head if I missed something, like that I was doing something wrong. So I made sure not to miss anything this training camp.
Smart, man. That's it. Well, that's it's a professional fight, right? Like like you said, that's very well said, man. Because like both you guys are on the path to where big things. Like you both want to go to big things in your career, and I think it's a phenomenal fight for both you guys. I think the fans are really gonna they're just gonna be blown away by the level of both of you guys in there. I'm excited. I couldn't be more excited, and I know a lot of the fans are pumped for it too, man. So, Abdel seems like he has the same mentality. I know he has the same mentality. He's going to take everything serious, and so it's going to be two super professional and talented guys in there across one another. So, I'm pumped.
Yeah. No, I'm pumped too. It's a good fight, and it's a good opponent, and I know that this fight won't be boring whatsoever.
No, definitely not. No, he comes to win, and I know you do too, man. So it's so who's coming out with you? Gagan and
I'm gonna bring Gagan, and Gagan's gonna come with me like the whole time, and then I'm gonna bring Sal the day before,
awesome.
and so I'll have two corners from both gyms, so it'll be good. Like I like to hear corner advice from both, because Sal cornered me early on in my career. Gagan's cornered me in my last previous fights and stuff like that, and I feel like they could both contribute to me, because I could hear both voices well. So I know there won't be any sort of mix up, and we're all on the same page. So I'm excited.
Love it. Do you simulate anything like that? Like I know some people struggle hearing their corners a little bit. Is there any kind of time you simulate stuff like that, or no? It's kind of hard to simulate, obviously, with a large, loud crowd. But
Honestly, like I've only ever had trouble hearing my corner, probably in my second last amateur fight. I think when I fought the first time I lost, I had trouble. I was just so flustered in like going into that fight that my mind was kind of racing everywhere, and that was the only time I didn't hear anything at all. Like all I could hear was the ref, and then and nothing. I remember going to my corner, and I don't even recall like anything that they were telling me. Like I was just kind of, I had like a mind-boggling. I don't know what was going on, but in like ever since then, like I could hear pretty well. Like I can usually hear the other person's corner. I could hear my corner. Like I think I'm pretty good at that. Like kind of zoning into listening to what I have to listen to.
yeah, getting in, that's such a big thing, man. I'm not like I've been training forever, but like I say it all the time. Like I'm getting better at it, to be honest. But for a long time, I really struggled with competition and like just like the anxiety and like blah blah blah. But man, like it's an impressive thing when you can see people really channel that and use it in a powerful, positive way. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm happy I could do that, because that'll be a lot of people tell me that's hard to kind of hear your corner and do all that stuff. But lately, I've been lucky. I'm able to hear everything. Hopefully, that stays going the whole time.
Yeah. What's your biggest motivators? Inside, outside, anything that keeps you, on the, the level,
Like
like hobbies that you do, things like.
I would say, like I'm always it sounds like a kind of like cliche, but I'm always motivated to be the best. Like I want to be better than it competition wise. Like I don't care about in the gym or in anything else. Competition wise, I want to be the best. Like I want to win my fights, and I want to be able to put on these performances where people watch and they're like, okay, that guy's a tough fight. That guy's we got to take this guy seriously. This guy's got good. everything, good kicks, good punches, good wrestling. Like I'm motivated by trying to be perfect. And like sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, but I use that in a good way. And
Man,
outside of competition, I'm just motivated by like the more I could do this, the better I could do this, the better it makes my life, and I'll be able to coach people. People will want to learn from me, and in turn, that kind of allows me to provide for myself, my future family, and by winning, you just make yourself better in general. You know what I mean? Better for your team as well. Your team looks good, everybody looks good. So I would say that's my motivator.
motivated by greatness, man. There's definitely nothing wrong with that, man, at
Yeah,
all. Like you have to in this kind of thing. Like, like I'm the same way as on the back end. At the end of the event, like people are like, "Oh, great event." I'm like, "Cool, see ya. Next, I want to work on
yeah,
the like." I'm already thinking about what we screwed up on to get better on. And that's motivated by doing great things. I think is a phenomenal quality, man. And if you're not in this game, like as an athlete at the highest level, man, you got to be that way for sure. So,
exactly. Yeah.
um, how Gagan is he fighting soon? Is he fighting next weekend or no?
Gagan was supposed to fight on BFL. Unfortunately, he got injured about a month ago. Like, and it
Oh,
was something that just lingered on like for a long time. And he was trying to push through it and say like, okay, let's see in a few days, let's see in a few days. But we just came to a conclusion that he wasn't able to train. He wasn't able to really do he wasn't able to grapple like which
yeah.
he's fighting a grappler. It just doesn't make sense at this highest level where you're kind of stuck at home and then expecting to fight in 2 weeks. So it was better that he kind of took this one off because he was pretty banged up.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing. Like it happens all the time, man. It's such a like crazy sport that way, man. Like there's so many variables. We always talk about it before the event. It's like travel is one thing to get the athletes here. Medicals are the other thing. The pre-fight medical, and then the weigh-in.
yeah.
Those three big things. Like if everybody makes weight, then you're like, oh, and then you go to bed and you get phone calls in the middle of the night, and you're like, oh shit. Like it's
Somebody,
just
like somebody's, yeah,
until that cage door closed at 7 o'clock, man, you really don't know what's going to happen. So it's
yeah,
we're pumped for September 21st. I know we got a lot of good fights, and we're not worried about any of these fights. I think everybody's on the right path, training hard, and we're gonna have a great event. So I don't want to hold you up too much, man. And first, lastly, I want to apologize for all the bullshit. Had a lot of different changes with times and stuff, so I appreciate your patience with that.
oh no worries. That's nothing. You just always message me whenever, and we'll always figure something out.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Couple final questions. Advice. You seem to have you're a young guy, 24 years old, man. You seem very mature is that right? 24?
Oh, I wish, man. I'm 27.
27. Okay,
I wish I
sorry.
was 24 though.
My math is terrible. So, long story short, you seem like a great guy, very mature, and like kind of the right head, the right path, right head on your shoulders. Any advice to young athletes, who kind of want to get to this level and start fighting for Fight League Atlantic or fight professionally and go to Vegas and just put themselves out there like that?
Honestly, I would just say like pull the trigger, like take these fights, take these fights, and obviously you got to take. Obviously, you have to take some sort of smart fights and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like you got to take these fights that actually challenge you, these fights that push you, because if you don't take them and you fight, obviously there's no such thing as a can in MMA. Everyone's good, especially nowadays. Everyone's a good fighter.
Yeah,
Taking fights that are always lesser kind of in terms of skill wise than you and trying to build off of guys that are way lesser than you, eventually you're going to get exposed. And that's how I look at it. That's
for
why
sure.
I'm taking this fight against this guy. My last pro fight was, or my first pro fight was against the guy that finished off his amateur career, I think with like 2 belts, and I finished off my amateur career with 2 losses. Like I take these fights because I want to test myself, and you learn from these types of fights. So take all the fights you can. Travel whenever you think of going to test yourself at other training camps. Go and learn from everyone. Like that's all important stuff. And the more you sit and think about it, the less you're going to do it. So all I say is just pull the trigger.
Very well said. Rodney, September 21st. will be in Pictou, Hector Arena, Tapper Tag during the day, and Fight League Atlantic at night with the tailgate party in between. Daniel, well said, man. All that is very well said. And, pull the trigger, that's a struggle, man. We deal with it a lot. A lot of promotions are dealing with it all around the world right now. With the fights are very hard to do. It's probably one of the toughest jobs in the world. I swear. It's like, I always tell people, I'm like, think you organize a hockey tournament. I'm like, we got to organize a hockey tournament and then convince the teams to play one another. So
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. And I think it'll always be like that, unfortunately. But I think, I really think, like, and I don't know if athletes are aware or not, but like the UFC doesn't want that. Like, they don't. They want guys who are challenged in themselves, and girls who are challenged and who are battle tested. Like, you're not going to go to the UFC and like smash through everybody if, like you said, man, you're eventually going to get exposed for sure. And in Canada, we need more of that. We need more of the best fighters fighting the best people. And that's what's going to push our athletes forward for sure.
Yeah. And I never, like, and back then, even like when I first started like my amateur career, I was always thinking, I'm like, maybe this is not a good fight. Maybe this is not a good fight. And I would always get in my head. And then I realized that when I was fighting, like, all my fights were so close because I was just kind of fighting just like not to lose. Like, I was just afraid of the loss. I was afraid of, and then you lose. And then once you lose, you're just like, it's more of a learning lesson. Like I remember the first time I went to Florida was after I lost. And I think if I didn't lose, I probably wouldn't have went to Florida. I probably would have been complacent and happy with where I was at and thinking that everything I was doing was right, but everything I was doing wasn't right, So like, I started now, that pushed me to start saying, whatever, I'm going to take this fight. I'll take this fight. I'm good enough to take this fight. If I'm not good enough, then I'll learn from this fight. Like, that's my whole mentality going into everything now,
You want to sign a contract by any chance? Or?
We'll figure it out.
But for real, like, that's a great attitude to have, man. Like, I love that. I think that's going to get you very far in this sport. And it's commendable, man. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Final question. Shout outs. Obviously, we talked a lot about gyms and people, but inside the cage, people that you want to, send some love towards, by all means.
Like, shout out to everyone from my teams as well, like Clinch, Matrix, everyone. If I didn't mention your name, I want to shout out my sponsors that are sponsoring me for this fight. I have Kivo Red Light Therapy and Ursa Supplements. And shout out to everyone that helps me out, my family, my friends, and that's about it. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for having me again.
Teamwork, man. That's what this all is. You and Abdel, may the best man win. I hope you guys go out there and have a great fight. And that's what it's about for us, man. And we appreciate you taking the time to join us and fly across the country and fight for us. And it's going to be an awesome weekend, man. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be great, man. So stay healthy, and we'll be in touch. And otherwise, man, any final words?
I don't know what else to say. I don't know. I wish Abdel good health, and I'll see you on September 21st, and I'm sure we're going to put on a great fight.
Awesome. Love it, man. Okay, you have a great night. Thanks for taking the time out of your day and your patience with this, man. And we'll be seeing you very soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you, Dan. There you have it, folks. Episode 228, sponsored by good friends at Maritime Madness. Make sure you check them out, maritimemadness.com. Use the code FIGHT10 to save and get free shipping anywhere in North America. Remember, September 21st, Hector Arena, Pictou, Nova Scotia. Huge day. Tapper Tag 3, starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. Fight League Atlantic tailgate party, presented by Coldstream Clear and Mr. Abdenour with a barbecue. Mike McGrath on the mic. We'll be singing some tunes. That'll be between 4 and 6 o'clock. Doors open at 6 with Fight League Atlantic at 7 o'clock, headlined by Cam Nelson versus Ryan Rohovich. Co-main event, Daniel Abdenour, who was just on, versus Abdel the Mummy Abdelaziz. Man, I butchered all that. Anyway, have a great day. We'll see you in a couple days. Sunday, we're back with Ryan Rohovich. Have a great night. Lots of love. Peace.